Good morning. The Committee on Parole is called to order. Today is April 2nd, 2024. It's Tuesday. It's 9:01 a.m. My name is Cheryl Renazza, serving as chairman of today's parole panel. My colleagues on the panel this morning are Mr. Prater and Mr. Tillis. We are our remote location this morning is at Riverbend. And Riverbend, if you can hear me, I need you to turn on your camera, please. While y'all are doing that, we will introduce the staff here at DOC headquarters.
Jamie Thompson, Sherelle Biggerite, Carla Williams.
All right, and Riverbend, good morning. I see you now. Could the staff at Riverbend please introduce yourself?
My name is Lieutenant Jonathan.
Good morning, Lieutenant. Thanks for accommodating us this morning. And
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Alexander, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
You introduce yourself. Tell us your name and DOC number.
Sugar Ray Alexander, 441219.
And we have with us this morning also Ms. Sarah Leger, your fiance, who's indicated she'd like to speak, and we'll call on her at the appropriate time to do that. You've been through this process before, Mr. Alexander, and based on, let's see, let me scroll to that page. You had a revocation hearing in January, right?
Yes,
January 18th. And at that time, you were not eligible for appointed counsel, which is still the case today. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
And during that hearing, you were accused of violating condition number 4, to which you pled not guilty. And then that's for the arrest in Calcasieu. And then accused of violating condition number 10, you pled guilty, and that had to do with your fees. Is that your recollection?
Yes,
And as
ma'am.
a result of that hearing, the board ordered that in lieu of revocation, you were to complete the domestic abuse battery program and a long-term substance abuse program. And after that order by the board, you were transferred to the Steve Hoyle program in Bossier. And we received March the 12th, we received correspondence from the nurse there saying that requesting your removal from that program because of your complaints about your medical condition. You want to talk to us about that?
Yes, ma'am. I have muscular dystrophy and a hernia.
Right. We knew about your medical issue at the time, I believe. Let me just tell you your case this morning. So we're here back revisiting the revocation decision. That's what we're here for today. So your case has been assigned to Mr. Tillis. Would you answer any questions he may have, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Sugar. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Tiller. How are you?
All right. What were the problems you had at the last facility that you were at?
I have a hernia that been casing up, and it's like tangled with my muscular dystrophy. It's tangled up in my intestines, and it's real bad. And they didn't want to do the surgery, but I'm trying to get the surgery here, but it says it's going to be expensive.
Okay, so you don't think you can do the program without the surgery?
No, sir, because it's bad.
You're in a lot of pain?
Yes, sir. Because
And
they
what do
said it fell into my intestines, excuse me.
So what are you asking for now?
To go take care of my medical, please.
And what do you plan to do about your drug problem?
They told me three times a week. 3 times a week if I upon release go to 3 drug rehab 3 times a week.
You guys have a question you would ask?
So, yeah. So after release, you were to attend 3 AA meetings.
Yes, ma'am.
That was part of the decision of the board at the last revocation.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have any other questions. Mr. Prater, have any questions?
What made Steve Hoyle program so difficult that you couldn't participate? Is it a lot of physical things that you have to do?
I just had went to, they brought me down there to medical and they seen my disability and my stuff, and it wasn't difficult. It's just that they didn't want to keep me there with my medical because it's expensive. They can't pay for it. So they said the board was gonna, until either the DOC or parole board was gonna have to pay for it. And they didn't, it was expensive to get the surgery and everything else. And I wouldn't have been able to participate in the classes with all the surgeries that they would have to do.
So this wasn't your idea saying, I can't do this program because of my medical condition. This was their idea that you couldn't do this program because of your medical condition. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Didn't realize that.
And you don't think you could try longer?
Sir, I've been in a lot of pain. I can't even walk to the chow hall here. 43, it really hurts.
All right, well, I tell you what, let's hear from Ms. Leger. Ms. Leger, is there something you'd like to say to us?
Well, good morning,
Morning.
everyone. Really, I want Sugar to come home. This is a really big misunderstanding. Yes, he was on parole, so there was a certain measure that he had to measure up to, right? And possibly not be involved in criminal activity or whatever the case may be, right? But I believe he served the time that he needed to serve. And it's time for him to come home so we can put him in surgery, get him taken care of. And I know, like with parole, it's about rehabilitation of someone. And I think bringing him back home is the best thing at this time.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Mr. Alexander, is there anything
Yes,
you'd
ma'am,
like to
thank
say to us before we vote?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Are you prepared to vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Tillis?
I think at this time, I'm going to vote to deny, to revoke.
Mr. Prater?
I concur.
Mr. Alexander, I think that I agree with my colleagues. We gave you the opportunity, and of course, due to your medical issues, you weren't able to complete it. But I do believe DOC is a good place for you to be able to resolve your medical issues before you do get out of jail. My vote today also is to revoke with the recommendation you be moved to a DOC facility to get to address your medical concerns. Good luck to you, sir. Lieutenant Jonica, is he still there with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, that concludes our business at Riverbend. We're going to sign off at 9:10 and we'll ask for an expedited transfer. Good luck to you, sir.
Ma'am. Love you. Love you.
Where do I hit that one over there when we speak? Oh, hold on. YouTube's got old numbers on here, man.
We at
Union Parish.
Union Parish. All right, good morning. Committee on Parole is reconvened. We're at Union Parish Correctional Center. My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chairman today. Seated to my left is Mr. Prater, to my right is Mr. Tillis, and we have before us Mr. Elliott. Is that you?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Do you have any staff member in the room with you?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I would like staff, please, to introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Officer Nation from Union Parish Detention Center.
All right, Officer Nation, thanks for accommodating us this morning.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Elliott, Mr. Elliott, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
Yes, ma'am, I'm Gideon Elliott. My DOC number is 778244.
Great. I'm going to read some identifying information into the record. I'm going to ask you to verify that, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Prater. Your case has been assigned to him. He'll take the lead on the interview. Once we've asked all our questions, we'll ask the officer there, Officer Nation, if there's anything he can add. Before we vote, you'll be allowed to make a statement. All right, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Elliott, you are classified as a 5th felony offender. You're currently serving a 4-year sentence. You were sentenced in Calcasieu in April of 2023 for aggravated burglary. Your parole eligibility date is October 7th of this year, October 7, 2024, and your good time date is January 25th, 2025. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you answer Mr. Prater's questions, please?
Good morning. Just to go over to make sure I understand, in October of 21, you were found guilty of an aggravated burglary. And correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's why we're here today, to see if in fact that you should be paroled on that aggravated burglary that took place in 21. You were given 4 years hard labor, credit for time served. And so that means that your actual parole date would be October of 24, and your full-time date is just 1 year later, October of 25, correct?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make sure that I had complete understanding. The thing that troubled me the most was you've had well over 30 arrests in your lifetime. Some took place just months before this arrest on the aggravated burglary. So why would tell me why I would possibly vote to let you out early, seeing that you had victimized so many people, either with property crimes or in fact violent crimes, because 5 of these are felonies that you had. Tell me why I should trust to put you back on the street with the citizens of Louisiana.
Well, sir, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to y'all. Through this time, I've stayed trouble free. I graduated the Steve Hoyt program, the intensive program. I maintained a positive attitude. I know I had a troubled past, but going through this time and going through the program, it made me realize that the things I'd done in the past wasn't so good, and everything I was doing in the past was selfish. And I had a lot of anger, and I had a lot of things that I was dealing with that I was projecting, and I was doing bad things. But I have no excuse for that. I wasn't doing the right thing, but I got to the program, and I did all these. I got a whole letter here that y'all said that I could read to you after I was done with the hearing. So I don't know when you want me to do that, but I wanted to show you that I graduated the program, and I've maintained no trouble. I've stayed in my Bible. I stayed a positive attitude, and I used this time that I've had the best that I could in the best way to really rehabilitate myself, to get myself to this point that I'm at now. And I have a positive outcome to all this. I know what I got to do when I get out. I got a support system. I got a NAAA group that I've been part of when I was out there that has my back on this. I have a mother to go home to that I need to take care of. And on top of that, I used to have a business. I've done bad things, but I've maintained a working attitude my whole life. I've done a lot of good things in my life, but I'm not trying to justify none of that. I'm saying that this time that I had, this almost 3 years, it made me understand that life is a whole lot. It's a whole lot more to life than what I was doing, and I really think that I do deserve to go home. But if y'all don't, you don't. I still good to go home. I still got this positive attitude. I know what I did was wrong, and I just want y'all to understand that I really do think I deserve this chance, and I did everything that I could do to get y'all to understand that I think I deserve this.
Okay, we'll wait until you get a chance to read your your remarks to us, and that's good. And I appreciate your answer, and I appreciate the fact that you're realizing that, you know, that you're in your early 40s and realizing that you screwed up so far 40 years. And so, you know, that makes me feel better that you're doing that. I want to hear your remarks and all, but I just wanted to let you know what troubles me the most was your prior criminal history. And so anyway, that's about all that I had as far as questions.
Mr. Elliott, I have just a couple. You mentioned that you had an AA group when you were out and they had your back. What happened? You quit going to those meetings, or you quit the group?
Well, honestly, some things happened in my personal life. My mother was sick, and I left Texas to go to Kentucky, and I got in trouble in Louisiana on my way. That's what happened. My car broke down, and I got stuck, and I got myself into trouble again. I wasn't
Yeah, that's
planning
gonna
on.
be my next question is,
Yes, ma'am.
how did you end up in Sulphur? Because I did see Kentucky, Louisville, and so forth, but how did you end up in Sulphur?
Well, when I got my new tires on my car, they didn't tighten up my lug nuts, and my lug nuts broke off. My stud broke off. My car broke down on that right there in Sulphur, and I got stuck there.
On the way to Kentucky?
Yes, ma'am. My father passed away in Kentucky. I was headed up there to try to take care of what was going on up there. That's where I'm originally from.
Mother's in Texas?
Yes, my mother's from Texas. My dad's from Kentucky. When they split, I stayed with my mother. I've been there ever since. And then I was going back to Kentucky to say bye to my dad and go to his burial, you know.
That was in 2006?
No, it was in 21 whenever I was going back to Kentucky. That's when
Okay.
I got in trouble in Lake Charles.
Right. With aggravated burglary.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any questions?
Mr. Elliott, you don't do drugs, do you?
No, sir, not no more. I don't.
You had a problem with drugs?
Yes, sir. That's why I got into the Steve Hoyt program. That's Judge Ritchie. He believed me too. You know, he was honestly going to give me more time. He asked me what happened. I told him what happened, that the whole situation of what happened with the burglary, and he blessed me with 4 years. And he told me he believed that I could graduate the program. So he gave me a referral right here to join the program and to do whatever I could to get my life back together. Here's the letter he sent me, and he really endorsed it within my letter. I'm gonna read to y'all that he believed that I could be changed. And he asked me if I had a drug problem. I told him yes, sir, I do. And he believed that I could be a changed man. So he only gave me 4 and told me to take advantage of everything I could with Louisiana DOC programs, and that's what I did.
So you think you can not get back involved with drugs? You think you're much better is what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Going through the trials and tribulations I put myself through, I do understand that I have 2 children too that I never got to be a part of life of. And God gave me this chance. He let me be in front of y'all. They said it couldn't be done. So as long as I keep my faith in him and do the right thing and have a good, strong support system and stay in NAAA, I think positively, if I stay positive, everything will happen for the better. And I don't think that I'll ever go back because there's nothing left for me back there. There's no road that goes to anything positive from a negative.
Thank you.
How old are your children?
My daughter just turned 11 and my son just turned 10 in January.
That's a lot to do good for.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I don't think we have any more questions. You want to go ahead and read your statement?
Yes, ma'am. Y'all bear with me a little bit. It's my first time doing this, so.
Go ahead.
Okay, it says, there I was on my way to a place not certain because of my negative actions. Not knowing where I was going was mortifying. Then I arrived at Callahoola Detention Facility. When I got settled, I requested a Bible. Upon my receiving my Bible, I was in it every day. With prayer and faith and God's grace, I made it out of that place. Then I went back to Lake Charles to face the music of my crime I committed. I filed for a motion of discovery and found out a substantial, overwhelming, selfish person I've been in the past. There was no justification for my actions. For me to move forward, I needed to change my thoughts and actions. if I just go back to what I was raised on, respect, morals, honesty, and faith in God, I would have to practice patience and anger control. Then came the big day of my court date. God was in my corner. Not only did I get confirmation that I had been doing the right thing, because Judge Ritchie of Lake Charles asked me what happened and why. And now Richie is not a judge that you play with or lie to. So I told him the truth, and he said, well, Gideon, I'll give you the plea deal, and I recommend you to take full advantage of all the programs we have to offer you. In good faith, I believe you will become a better man. So he endorsed me to the Steve Hoyt program plus work release. After I graduated the program, he endorsed me to the Steve Hoyt program plus work release after I graduated the program. I signed about 3 days later. On my way, I made it to Riverbend. When I got there, I started writing law library to get an address to the program at Bossier Medium. Once I got the address, I wrote them just in case my paperwork forms from Lake Charles didn't make it. After that, I prayed and stood on my faith. Then in June, I got shipped to Bossier. It was the biggest blessing yet. Not only did I get into the program, but there was men there waiting 3 months to get into the program. So there was a lot of negative talk that I couldn't let myself fall victim to. 3 weeks later, I started a class. Amen. I got mentally focused on my rehabilitation and took this time seriously. The classes consist of intensive rehabilitation classes like core requirements, MRT, victims awareness, mind altering substance, living in balance, unlock your thinking, communication, problem solving, monitoring positive reinforcement and nonviolent discipline techniques, anger management, workforce, transitioning skills, parenting, and GED. This was a 6 months intensive program that was a great learning experience about myself. I learned an overwhelming character flaw I was playing in my life. These classes had made me look from outside the box. Manipulation was a main objective of overcoming that I could tell right away I needed to change. The classes taught me to the most significant values in life and how I was definitely going about life in the most devastating way.
Mr. Elliott, interest of time, I know you took a lot of time writing that, and that was probably very therapeutic for you. We're very familiar with the Steve Hoyt program, so wrap it up for us. If you're almost finished, you can go ahead and finish the line.
Okay, all right, here we go. So then I graduated to Farmersville, the work release program. I got your invitation to respectfully speak on my behalf. I've been continually being rehabilitated every day. I've maintained a clean record, no write-ups, no trouble. I was busy working on myself and was not getting involved in any mediocre arguments. Okay, y'all know all that. I said, I can prove this because my positive attitude towards a negative situation. Through prayer and power of God and the program, I have great remorse for my actions and pray that I can get forgiveness from my victims. This was the greatest thing I've ever had to overcome. The program made me very aware that my actions not only affected the person and his family, but the community and his neighbors. The understanding was of my actions caused me to change my behavior as a man. Romans 12:2 says, don't conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That proves that what God is in good, acceptable, and perfect, the will of God. To renew your strength like the eagles. I can't change what I did, but I can every day grow and learn new techniques and how to stay positive and to maintain a positive energy.
All right. We need to wrap it up. Is the officer still with? That was very good, and I appreciate your reflection and sharing that with us. Officer Nation, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Elliott?
Yes, ma'am. He very respectable and never gave me a problem. Well, he never gave anyone a problem.
Good, and he's been there a little over a year? No, he's only been there a couple of months.
Yes, ma'am. He do clean up the dorm and stay to himself.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes,
Mr. Elliott mentioned you went to work release. Are you in work release?
That's here. That's what I'm waiting for here. After I graduated, I came here. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for them to put me to work.
Placement, please. Okay. All right. Is the panel prepared to vote?
Okay, yes, I'm
Great.
prepared to vote. I appreciate everything you had to say in your letter, and I appreciate everything that you've said thus far and your admission that you changed your life and how bad you used to be. Due to the fact that you've had so many arrests and 5 of them being felonies, and you've hurt people before in the past and all that, and the relatively minor amount of time that you were sentenced to, my vote is to deny. I think you need to be right where you are, doing what you're doing. And I think you're growing. I think you just a little seedling right now. And I think as soon as you get to be a plant, time you get your time in, you'll be ready to get out.
Mr. Tillis,
I concur.
Mr. Elliott, I do agree. I think you're on the right track. Seems like you got your head moving in the right direction. My vote today, and I do think Judge Ritchie did give you a big break. You know, that's where your first blessing came in. So my vote today also is to deny. And I'm going to add, you'll get out on good time in January of next year. And it's just, in my view, a few months from now, I'm going to add a special condition to yours. Do you plan to go back to Texas? Is that what your plan is?
My
Yeah.
mother, she's not doing too much good. That she really needs somebody there for her, and she
Well,
really
you
got on me.
need to focus on you first. You need to get you straight first. So my vote today is to deny, and I'm going to add special condition to your good time release certificate that you have to attend, you must as a condition, 3 AA meetings a week. You need to stay in touch with that group. Don't fall away again. Good luck to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I have be able to get 3 more months of good time. Can I get a referral to that? Because if I get that, I could go home in October.
That's on you. I can't do that. You have to take those steps, just like you did the Steve Clark program. Good luck to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
That concludes our business at Union. We're going to sign off at 9:33.
Even though I didn't do it.
Could have been worse.
What do you mean?
Could have gone.
All right, good morning. Committee on Parole is reconvening. We're at Allen Correctional Center. Would the staff at Allen please introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning. I'm Deputy Warden Brent Thompson.
And good morning. I'm Assistant Warden Jesse Bellamy.
And I'm the ARDC Supervisor, Sybil Ryder.
All right, thank y'all for accommodating us this morning. My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chairman of today's parole panel. I have with me my colleague, Mr. Steve Prater to my left, Mr. Chuck Tillis to my right. Mr. Haynes, good morning.
Good morning.
Would you introduce yourself? What's your
Yes,
name,
ma'am.
DOC number?
Thomas Haynes, 308610.
Right, and let me let you know, Mr. Haynes, we have joining us this morning also by Zoom, Terrence Wynn. And here with us in Baton Rouge, we have Melvin Franklin Jr., who both of whom want to speak on your behalf. We'll ask them to do so at the appropriate time. First, let me read some identifying information into the record. Mr. Haynes, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 73-year, 29-day sentence for convictions in East Baton Rouge. Attempted second-degree murder, as a habitual offender, attempted second-degree murder, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and armed robbery. All that occurred, or was sentencing occurred in 2003. You did have you were first sentenced for the armed robbery in 1992, and at some point were afforded good time supervision, but that was revoked because of the new convictions in 2003. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So let me, how long have you been at Allen, sir?
I've been in Allen since March of last year. So I've been here like
A little over a year, right?
yes, ma'am.
And so I'm going to tell you what concerns me about your record.
Okay.
And I'm sure you know. I see the record shows a substantial loss of good time, 420 days. I see you have 132 write-ups in your jacket, the last being in 2022, which in my view is not that long ago, probably seems like a long time to you. I do see that you have taken some anger management and risk management and living in balance, but I'm concerned about the disciplinary record. I do have in the record, we do have letters of support from your family members. Of course, we have opposition that's been expressed by victims and law enforcement. So, and the prosecutor's office has expressed opposition. So I want you to tell me why you think we should consider favorably for you today.
Okay. Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to be able to make amends for the wrong that I've done to these victims and to present myself as a better person today. You know, my conduct record here, you know, it speaks volumes of the type of person that I was when I came into the system, you know, and I was a mess. And I've been through a lot of ups and downs. You know, I've wrestled with the ideal of proving the system wrong, you know, to the point that I had to face reality and actually take responsibility for my actions and truly decide whether or not I want to stay stagnated in this mindset, you know, or move past this for something better, you know. So I had to pray on that. I had to pray hard on that. And, you know, looking at the system as the enemy, I had to recognize that the system ain't just come about to entertain me. The system has been around for years, and the system can actually work because I've seen a lot of people that been in this situation that got up and did something about their situation. So based on those examples, you know, I had to come to terms with who I wanted to be. I got tired of looking at who I had became and decided that I wanted to be better. So, you know, my
And that
conduct
change happened once you got to Allen?
no, ma'am, that change started at David Wade. I was in the cells at David Wade going through on transition. And I prayed hard for change. And, you know, I believe that faith without works is dead works. So I had to actually walk the walk instead of just talk that talk.
Right, so
And-
let me stop you now, and I do see, since you've been there, the change started happening at David Wade, but you continued getting in trouble. I won't go into the nature of the write-ups, but you continued getting into trouble. But I do see that, as I mentioned, you haven't had any write-ups, it appears, to me at least, in about a year and a half, which is
Yes, ma'am.
probably the longest time you've ever been without a write-up.
That's exactly where I was going.
So wait a minute. I'll tell you when you can talk.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wanting to get a few things on the record. I did not hear, I mentioned some of your programs that you have taken, and when I go back and I look at your crime was violent crimes, all of them were violent crimes.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
were on supervision for an armed robbery when these attempted murders occurred. And you fired an assault rifle at a vehicle and also a residence occupied by at least 9 people. You had no idea how many people you could kill. You didn't care, apparently. And so as I consider that and I look at your programs, it seems to me you could benefit from things like thinking for change. I think I don't see any real significant substance abuse education or treatment in your record. Is there that I missed?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, just
Yes,
show me the certificates.
Yes, ma'am. I have thinking for a change. I have thinking for a change, the pre-release program. I have AA self-help. I have in living balance 1 and 2.
All of those you've taken at Allen?
I've taken those. I've taken some at Allen and some at David Wade. I took the in living balance 1 and 2, risk management, anger management at David Wade. Since being here, I've been participating in the substance abuse. That should be in my record. I had a certificate submitted just the other day. And
what's your job? What's your job?
I'm a laundry orderly here at Anna dorm orderly, yeah. But I'm presently waiting to graduate, thinking for a change this week.
Oh, good. That's why I didn't have it in the record, because you hadn't finished it.
Right. But they put me
Are
here.
you a trustee?
They've been working with me here. And they got me in all of the programs that matter, that they offer. Basically, I'm in everything.
Mr. Haynes, my question is, are you a trustee?
Yes, ma'am.
And what class of trustee?
I'm in an honor status. I have an honor status.
Okay, good. That's good to know. That's good to know. For me, I'm going to listen to the warden in just a minute, but for me, and I'll hear from the folks that want to speak today, but for me, I have a hang up with the conduct record. I'm glad it does seem that you've turned the corner. Your change has begun. That's the note I made in my record, but I need a longer period of sustained good behavior before I could vote for it. I think you're on track, but that's where I'm at. We'll hear from my colleagues. Y'all have any questions?
No, I was going to say the same thing. It appears that the courses that you started taking and have completed have just started since your parole eligibility date. So the first 20 years, we didn't do much. And your conduct has gotten better since your parole eligibility date. So I was just, in my mind, I'm wondering, are you truly a changed person? or is it a scheme? Have you changed because you see some light at the end of the tunnel, and so you're trying to convince us of that? And that's my only question. I'm thinking out loud for you. I'm not accusing. I'm proud that you have changed. I'm proud that you've changed in your mind and in what you're saying and the courses you're taking and your discipline. All those are going the right direction. But I'm trying to decide in my mind before I vote, you know, is this a scam? And so that's what's on my mind as you talk. But you don't have to, there's nothing, I wasn't asking a question. Thank you.
Before I ask the ward for his comments, I have two more questions. Mr. Haynes, have you ever made any attempt to contact your victims or any of their family?
Yes, ma'am. I've contacted Mr. Charles, and I've made contact with Ms. Naja. And I can't stress enough
what was the reason for the contact?
When I talked to Charles, I had to explain to them, you know, he put it in the words to me like, two wrongs don't make a right. You know, he said, you know, what happened to his family was wrong, and that, you know, he wanted.
So you made contact for what reason?
I made contact with Charles because I wanted to understand. At the time, I really was trying to figure out how I could slip through the cracks, how I could beat the system.
Yep. Okay, good. I'm glad you're honest with me. That speaks a lot. You know, it's illegal for you, excuse me, sir. It's against the law for you to contact your victims. And we have information in the record that you contacted both Mr. Charles and Ms. Naja, particularly Ms. Naja, to try to help you with your appeal. And I just wanted to put that on the record. Warden, Warden Thompson, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Haynes?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I want to set the record straight in regards to his comment they actually made regarding him actually being a trustee. He's currently not a trustee. Okay, I think he got some things confused on that, but he's not a trustee. He and I actually had a talk just on the other day, and the biggest thing I encourage him to actually do is to try to find himself, making himself available to try to get involved in any kind of self-help classes. That's the key thing. He still have a lot of time he actually got to do. He started out real bad into the system. Within the last year and a half, he's trying to improve, but he's still got a long way to actually go.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And I couldn't agree with you more. Mr. Haynes, we're going to listen to your guest. First, we'd like to hear from Terrence Wynn, who's on Zoom.
Good morning.
Morning.
I just would like to say that Mr. Haynes he's a typical person that goes through the system. You know, he's been in the system a while. And like Mr. Prater was saying, he was trying to find out, he was thinking out loud to see whether or not it's a scheme. But change usually starts from something. And I think that his change started because he really wanted to go home. And to know that you want to go home, you know that you got to set aside all your bad ways, all the things that keeps you in the system and makes you make bad decisions. I think that he placed those to the side to understand what was more important. And what's more important is to get programs, which he's done, and to stay away from write-ups, which he's done, and to grow up, to mature. And I think he's done that. And I think that he's shown signs of really wanting to come home and do the right things. I don't think he wants to scheme anybody anymore because now it's no longer on the victims or the victims' families. I think he knows that everything sets on him. He has to do everything. Nobody else can let him go home. He has to make sure he do everything right to go home. And I think he's set himself on that course. And so today I just ask that you look at the changes and please just give him a favorable recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate seeing you and thanks for participating. We have with us here Mr. Melvin Franklin. Mr. Franklin, could we hear from you, sir?
Will face you all.
Yeah. He'll be able to see, I think. Will y'all fix the camera on him?
I am here for Thomas Haynes this morning on behalf of the employment.
I have here a certificate where the mayor have given me to open a tire shop at 4362 Florida Boulevard, Miss Sharon Brew. And today I was kind of hoping that I would hear some good news on Thomas' behalf. I know time does bring on a change for a person. But in this tire shop, we change tires, rims, we rotate tires, there. Also, we do brakes there. His pay, we work from 7 to 5:30 there. His pay would be $12 an hour there, Monday through Saturday. We off on Sundays there. So, and also I do have a state license. I do, a subcontract with stucco and bricks. So I do have another opportunity for him as well in the field. With unemployment there as well. So it's up to you all now, but he will have a job whenever he's eligible.
That's great. That's good news. Thank you, sir. We
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
coming.
all.
Thanks for coming. All right, Mr. Haynes.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll go get ready. There you are. Over there. Is there a brief statement you'd like to make to us before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. With regards to the misunderstanding with the trustee status, okay, well, I have an honor status, you know, due to the fact that the conduct record is a big issue. And here at Allen, you know, 6 months without a write-up, 6 months of actual incarceration without a write-up, you qualify as an honor status. And with my 18 months without a disciplinary report, I have an honor status. I now live in an honor dorm, an honor unit. And it's like honor status / trustees unit. So I didn't know the exact details about my new status. So that's where that confusion came from earlier. But as far as the victims, my victims in this case, all right, I never made an attempt to contact some of those victims. I used like a private investigator. I sought permission that that was within the law. I never tried to cross no lines that would jeopardize anyone's freedom, you know. But like I say, to be honest with you, you know, I was fighting for my appeals and I was reaching for every straw that I could reach for. But as far as that goes, you know, I can't justify anything outside of trying to get my freedom back, you know. So it was the wrong way.
So listen, Mr. Haynes, I think we get your message, and let me tell you what, it's not just about getting out of jail, it's about staying out of jail. And you got some work to do. You got some work to do in that regard. And look, I'm really proud of you that you're in the honor dorm. That says a lot that you have turned the corner. I think Terrence Wynn said that you're showing signs, and I agree, because I can see it now in your conduct record and stuff. But and I'm really pleased that Mr. Franklin wants to offer you the job opportunity. You've got stuff to work for them. For me, I'm not willing to take a chance today, but I'd like to see you back once you have remained write-up free to your next eligibility for a hearing date. Have some more programs under your belt, and you might have a different outcome. But for me today, sir, my vote is to deny your parole. And I want to hear back from you, and I want to see a good record next time. Good luck to you, Mr. Craig.
I concur. I concur with that and deny it.
Mr. Tillum.
I concur.
All right, you got some work to do, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Go to work. Good luck.
No problem. Thank you.
All right.
Let's stack it next.
Yes.
All right. Sorry for the delay. We're back in session. And Mr. Stacker, good morning. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Edmund Stacker, number 453712.
Yes, sir. All right. So, Mr. Stacker, let me introduce the panel to you. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Mr. Steve Prater is seated to my left, and Mr. Chucky Tillis is seated to my right. Let me recognize the guests we have with us today. In support, we have the Parole Project, Mr. Kerry Myers. We have Melody Stacker, your sister, and Terrence Wynn, all of whom will be speaking on your behalf, and we'll call on them at the appropriate time to do so. And that we also have a representative from the DA's office in Jefferson, Mr. Randy Meyer, and he'll be speaking to close it out for us at the end. First, let me read some identifying information into the record, Mr. Stacker, and then I'm going to take the lead on the interview because your case has been assigned to me. Once we finish our questions, we'll hear from the warden, and then we'll hear from the folks that have want to speak on your behalf. We'll ask you if you have a statement to make, and then we'll let the DA's office close it out for us. Okay, ready?
Ma'am.
Mr. Stacker, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 50-year sentence for attempted second-degree murder in Jefferson Parish. Your parole eligibility date was October 5th, 2021. Good time date is August 7th, 2043. Does all that information sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay. So, Mr. Stacker, how old are you, sir?
Yes,
And how long have you been in jail?
22 years.
So you served 22 years of your 50-year sentence.
Ma'am.
So you were, how old were you when this crime occurred?
28.
And so why don't you tell us what happened? Why are you in jail?
A lot of drinking and a fight ensued. Ma'am?
No, I didn't say anything. I want to know what happened the night of this crime.
Right, a lot of drinking, a fight ensued, and I pulled the gun and fired.
But it didn't fire, right? And then what happened?
Oh, ma'am, it was on safety. It was on safety.
Then what happened?
I made a statement that said I could have shot you, and I walked away. And as I was shutting the door, it was like pushed open. And I went in panic mode. It was a cowardly move. I went in panic mode and pushed the door all the way open. And I chased the victim, and he turned around. We started fighting, and I shot him.
Well, I got the, I have the record, and the you got the chase part right.
Mm-hmm.
But what I gleaned from what I read was the victim was trying to resolve an argument between you and somebody else. And then you pulled a gun and you pulled the trigger, but it didn't fire. You went home to fix the gun. Then you went back. Then you shot the victim in the mouth, and then you chased him and shot at him numerous more times. Does that sound familiar?
The part about shooting him in the mouth, yes, ma'am. But the pursuit and firing, no, ma'am.
And you didn't go home to fix the gun.
So I went in the apartment to shut the door because the gun was on safety. I didn't. My intention wasn't to shoot. But when the door came open, I panicked and I ran out, and I took it off safety and I shot him. I own up to that. I did do it.
But you pointed it at him before and tried to fire it, but it was on safety.
Yes, it was on safety. I put it on safety.
Why would you have a gun if you're not going to intend to shoot it? So, okay, so we know what happened. Let's get to your record. I notice you have 270 days of good time credits. Tell us about, I know that's program completions. Which of those programs that you earned those 270 days for, which one did you get the most out of?
Victim impact. I learned a lot.
Okay.
It teaches you to even though you're suffering and going through years of incarceration, we were not the victims. The victims are the people we did the crime against. And it helps you to understand that they the ones that you really halted their life, harmed them and their families. It's more than just them, it's the family members, your family members, you affected a lot of people. Well, I affected a lot of people with my silly act of violence. I affected a lot of lives.
When did you take that victim in class?
I took that one here, that was the last one. I took that one at Allen Correctional Center.
So, and you've been there how long?
Since,
A little over about a year, almost a year.
yes, ma'am.
And where were you before that, before Allen? Let's see.
They sent me to
Raymond.
Yeah,
Raymond. And then you were in Angola for a little while. I noticed when I look at your record, you've been in and out of the hospital. You have medical issues?
I had a massive heart attack in 2020. And it left me on multiple medications, and I have to keep nitroglycerin in case it worsens. So that pretty much limit my ability to do a lot of physical things, but as far as work goes, I still could do a lot. It's just not too much so in the heat, because the medications I take, they're like your skin fire, basically.
So do you have a job?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do?
I'm a dorm orderly, and I assist with the elderly, and I live in like a elderly dorm, and I push them to the hospital, push them to the child and things like that. Do a lot of cleaning, take the laundry, multiple things.
So let's talk about your conduct record. What's that look like?
Pretty much outside of having a duty status that stipulates I don't go in the field, pretty much. Basically, that's the only thing I've been getting wrote up for. Until my medical records catch up with me, they do their protocol. If you can't work, then they have to write you up. But once I present the situation, they don't lock me up. They don't put me in the dungeon. They just may write me up. And I have a grievance I filed at both institutions, and it stipulates out of field on them. But they never took the write-ups out of my jacket, but they never locked me up or put me in the dungeon or nothing like that.
So the last one was in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, where was that at? Where were you?
I was at Cottonport.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So you got 2 in 2022 for work offense.
Yes, ma'am.
And one was in February and one was in November. So it took them that long to get your medical record?
Yes, ma'am. And they answer the grievance. I have the grievance with me. And in the grievance, they like, okay, you have out of field duty status, it's stipulated. But they never removed the write-ups out of my jacket.
All right. When did you learn you were parole eligible?
October the 21st. It was like 3 weeks after I became eligible. They sent me a letter saying, well, you're eligible for parole and you need a free release. So I was like, okay, let's get it started. But the next month they moved me to Cottonport. When I got to Cottonport, I got in a free release program and completed that, anger management. I took substance abuse in Angola. I took Thinking for a Change, which is living in balance. I took that in Angola. A bunch of religious-based programs I completed, but you don't get good time credits because you only get like 350 or something like that.
So I guess what I'm getting at is the record at least reflects that you didn't start working on these self-help programs until you learned you were parole eligible. That's what it looks like to me.
Yes, ma'am. Except the drug abuse and the religious-based programs, I took those. Even at the time, it was like I'm exhausting all my court remedies, and it felt like I had no hope. But I never got like violent and fighting and getting into security. I don't have none of that kind of stuff. I never went like that. It just was mainly trying to maintain and study going to court till you get denied at each level. So I had no hope until the laws changed, and I was like, okay, I finally have hope. And I just jumped into programs and poured all my energy into positive things. I've pretty much been positive the whole while I was there. That's why I have not one fight, not one act of violence against security inmates, nobody in the whole 22 years, because I'm a peacekeeper. I would rather keep the peace and get along opposed to just ruckus and everything that's sent you to prison.
Why
That's
does your
what-
record say you have no history of substance abuse?
I have no idea, but I have my certificate.
For a chemical dependency program you took, I saw that, but then I did see where it says you had no history of substance abuse, which would seem as though you might have reported that to somebody, that you didn't have a drug problem.
Never had, ma'am, never have.
You ever had a drug problem?
Okay.
So the night this attempted murder occurred, there were no drugs involved?
No, just alcohol. Just alcohol, partying.
So you have a substance abuse problem, it's just not drugs, it's alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm just gonna sit back and listen. Do my colleagues have any other questions?
How long were you at Angola?
19 years, 19 or 20 years.
19. You have many problems there?
As
Why?
far as, sir,
You had many problems when you were there? Breaking the rules or violating any of the rules?
yeah, I had like basically work offenses, that's about it. You do multiple jobs and it's never enough, but you sentenced to hard labor, so you do as much as you could. And all the extras, you either do them or you don't. But you try to play by the rules as much as possible, because the cells and dungeons, that only make the time harder.
Do you feel now that where you are now, you're in a better position and you're on a road of trying to do what's correct?
Yes, sir. I have hope. I have something to strive for, to get better, to live life again, possibly. It's a totally different world.
Good, thank you.
How old were you when this shooting occurred?
28, sir.
Okay, that's kind of a late bloomer. Usually we see people involved in shootings that in their teens and early 20s. And you get to be 28. Why do you think that was?
Well, as a truck driver, it was, I'm not blaming it on that. It just was coming home and try to enjoy 1.5 days of home. And I just made a horrible decision. That isolated incident haunt me to this day. I regret it. I wish I could take it back, but it happened. And my world changed, the victim's world changed, his family world changed. Stupid decision.
Yes.
Very stupid.
Okay, that's all I had.
Warden Thompson, what can you tell us about Mr. Stacker?
From the second I talked just on yesterday, and I mean, the best advice I could pretty much give to him, just continue out to try to seek any type of self-help classes. There's always room for improvement. There's a class here that we have to conduct here, which is the boys and men class, which would be something good for them guys to get involved in.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, let's hear from the support now. Could we hear from Mr. Myers with the Parole Project?
Yes, good morning. Kerry Myers with the Louisiana Parole Project. Parole Project has committed to support Mr. Stacker should this board grant him a release. Our program is designed to help him through this transition, particularly someone who has served more than 20 years of incarceration. Our program will provide him with a case manager who will be his mentor, and he will also go through programming that includes the things that have significantly changed since his incarceration, like technology, financial literacy and financial management, social norms, consumer skills, the things that he would need. Mr. Stacker does have a support system. He has a long-term residence plan with his sister. He has an employment plan. Parole Project will provide him case management at a minimum of 1 year. And again, should this board decide to grant Mr. Stacker based on his age, he's highly unlikely to make the same decisions he made 22 years ago. He's completed the chemical dependency program. We have confidence that he'll and we'll make sure through evaluation that his sobriety is a priority to him. And so we just ask this board to consider that in your review today.
Thank you. We'd like to hear from Miss Melody Stacker. You're still on mute?
Yeah, good morning. Hi, my name is Melody Stacker. I'm Edmund Stacker's sister. This has been a long journey, hard time for the family, but through it all, we are a religious family and we support him 100%. My mom didn't make it, she's died, so I had to carry on for my mom. And I think he'll do well. He looks like a change. He never really was a troubled person. He was quiet and a hard-working man. But that situation turned real ugly, real bad, real quick. And I think everybody has suffered the consequences, including him. We love him and we like to see him home, so I could take care of him for the rest of his days. And he just watch over me. I thank you for listening to me.
Ma'am. All right, Terrence Wynn, could we hear from you, sir?
Hello, once again. I know Mr. Stacker. He's like you say, he's a real peaceful person.
Mr. Wynn, we need you to pull over and stop recording. You're gonna talk to us.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I know Mr. Stacker personally, and he's a real peaceful person. He's the person, like Mr. Miles said, that he would not come back to prison. And I'm here to support him any way he needs support, whether it's job or any type of support, because people coming home from prison really need support, especially what a person understands, because it's a lot of traumas that a person faces in prison. So I'm here to give him that support in any kind of way he needs. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, let me ask Mr. Stacker, is there a statement you'd like to make before we ask the DA to close it out for us?
Yes, ma'am. The situation that happened 22 years ago, I was a grown man at 28. I regret what I did. And if I could apologize to the victim and his family, I would. I know I put them through changes. And I depend on the mercy of the board to grant me one shot. Thank
you. All right.
What about?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Meyer, I apologize. Thank you. Would you close it out for us? I apologize.
No problem. Yeah, I caught it. Randy Meyer, Assistant DA in Jefferson Parish. And our office is opposed to his request at this time. One reason is it doesn't appear that he's being honest with the board as to what happened with the facts of the situation. The facts that were brought out in trial is that he put his hands on his neighbor, Dina Noel. She told her brother about it, and he came over to have a discussion with Mr. Stacker. They spoke. Mr. Mr. Stacker got rowdy, pulled out a pistol, aimed it at Singleton, and pulled the trigger, but the gun didn't fire. He then went to his apartment, fixed the gun, fired 2 shots inside the apartment, and then exited the apartment, which was across the alleyway from Dina's apartment, had his gun in his hand, got into a fight with Singleton, and shot him in the mouth. Singleton then fled to his sister's apartment, and Dina told Mr. Stacker that don't shoot him, and he was shooting at him as they chased. She told him that there were children in the apartment. Please don't shoot in there. And he continued to fire. He fired 2 shots into the apartment, and Dina Knowles discovered one of the bullets on the floor of their home a few days later. It's a little bit different from the facts that he told the board, the parole committee, what occurred. So now let's look at what he's done since he's been incarcerated. He's had 64 write-ups since 2002. He's had one every year except 2017. And then in November of 22 was his last disciplinary report. So he had none in 23 and none so far in 2024. A whole lot of his write-ups were for contraband and aggravated work offenses. He had 13 aggravated work offenses since 2015. It's concerning with the number of disciplinary reports and how long he's had them. I truly would like to see people who get granted or considered for parole to have a longer time period following the rules before they're released. Also have concern with his programming. I think it's very limited. He's the only program he's taken that we have a record of was chemical dependency in 2004, up until he got knowledge of his parole eligibility. In 22, he took 100 hours in anger management in 2022. I think additional programming would benefit him substantially before he would be released, and would give him a much better opportunity of following the rules and staying crime-free once he is released. So until he completes additional programming, which I think some additional substance abuse classes would also be beneficial. It's been 2024, so 20 years since he's had any kind of substance abuse classes. So without those additional programming and more time right up free, we will remain opposed to his request.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, I think I'll move for an executive session to discuss confidential matters. Can you get a second?
Second.
Okay, in the roll call.
Cheryl Lawson,
Yes.
Steve Porter,
Yes.
Chuck Pitts.
Yes.
Yes, so we'll be in executive session for a few moments to discuss confidential matters. We'll be right back, Mr. Stacker.
This thing on mute. Live speak potato. Live speak potato. What? I said the live speak potato. They took everything and twisted it. I'm still in jail. I'm surprised, man. If I put my hands on a woman, I've never been to jail in my life. So why would I stay at team?
All right, Mr. Stacker, we're back in session. Oh, and we're ready to vote. And I'll go first. You know, I worry about your desire to change because you didn't start really working hard on yourself till you knew you might have hope to get out. And so, you know, for me, that's I wonder if you're really sincere about it. I mean, I know you want to get out, but for us, it's about you getting out and staying out. And I would have liked to have seen a longer period of you working on yourself. I heard what the warden said about the Boys to Men program may be of some benefit to you. Are you familiar with that program?
Yes, ma'am.
How long is that program, warden?
You have 6 different phases to it, so technically speaking, you're looking at least about 6 months of a course.
Okay. All right. And do you have a substance abuse program there at Allen?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Stacker,
Yes, ma'am.
I would be willing to give you a shot to grant you parole after you complete the Boys to Men program that was recommended by the warden. Also complete whatever the substance abuse program is that is offered at Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, only then, after successful completion of those programs, and you remain right up free for all that time, parole you to the parole project to go through their transition program. And we know their program, so I know they're going to ask for, you know, you're going to have a substance abuse evaluation, and you're going to have to do whatever they tell you to do, and they're going to follow you long term. What is your employment plan whenever you're released? What you going to do? You're still young enough to work. What you going to do?
The parole project, they have a program to help me get renew my CDLs and back to driving trucks. That's what the money is.
So that's a big truck we're talking about, not like a hot shot truck, a big truck.
Tractor trailer.
All right. I'm going to add special condition after release that you attend 3 AA meetings a week. And we'll work with the parole project on another condition to be sure you maintain your sobriety once you get back to driving trucks.
Yes, ma'am.
Figure that out. I had wanted to put an interlock device, which is the thing you blow in, you know, to be sure you're not drinking. But if you're driving a commercial truck, I don't think that'll work. So I'm going to reserve that. I'll find something. That's my vote. Mr. Prater.
I concur and wish you well. Hope you do well. I think you will. You're on the right track.
Mr. Tillins.
I hope that you're sincere and the drug or the alcohol is serious. And I think you've done 22 years so far.
Yes, sir.
And I think you're capable of doing another 22 years, but I think you need a chance. And I agree with my colleagues.
All right, Mr. Stacker, it's up to you.
Excuse me, Ms. Renasta.
Yes.
You know, an option other than the interlock device would be a scram bracelet for the alcohol.
All right, I'll add that as a special condition also. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. I appreciate it. So we're going to add that, a scram bracelet that'll detect alcohol if you have any in your system. So good luck to you, Mr. Stacker.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, look, this is what I'm gonna do. After this parole board, you wait for him out there, I'm gonna get with you. I'm gonna put you in that Boys to Men program.
All right, we are back in session, and Mr. Sweeny, is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me find your record here. All right, Mr. Sweeny, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
I was Sweeny, 421248.
All right, Mr. Sweeny, let me introduce the panel to you. My name is Cheryl Renanza. Mr. Prater is seated to my left. Mr. Tillis is seated to my right. I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, ask you to verify that information, and then we'll conduct our interview with you. We'll hear from the warden and those folks have indicated they'd like to speak. Let me first introduce the folks who are here with us that have joined us by Zoom. We have your sister, Reverend Beverly Sweeny. Sweeny? I see some of it is spelled Sweeny and some of it's spelled Sweeny. So I'm going to just Reverend Beverly Sweeny. Vladimir Celius, your friend, and Jane Baldwin, all of those who have indicated they'd like to speak on your behalf, and we'll call on them at the appropriate time to do so. We have victims representing two families. And I'm going to ask Ms. Judy Lombardino to please introduce the victims that are at least observing. I realize you'll be speaking, but would you introduce them, please, for the record?
It'll be Joseph Cassiope Jr. and it'll be his father, Joseph Cassiope Sr.
Okay, thank you. And then we also have Bridget Bartholomew, another family, victim's aunt, and Jeremiah Abbas, victim's son. We also have from the DA's office in St. Bernard, the DA, Mr. Perry Nicosia, and Megan Suffren. So, Mr. Sweeny, after our interview and after we hear from the warden, we'll hear from the folks who are here in support. We'll hear from the victim's perspective. You'll be allowed to make a statement, and then we'll close it out with the DA's remarks. Okay, you ready? All right, Mr. Sweeny, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 53-year sentence. You were sentenced in 1999, August of 1999 in St. Bernard Parish for armed robbery, attempted first-degree murder, and manslaughter. In 2019, in Washington Parish, you have a conviction for contraband. Your parole eligibility date was August 1st, 2021, and you have an adjusted good time date, which is February 2nd, 2040. Does that information sound correct to you, sir?
Ma'am.
Right. Your case this morning has been assigned to Mr. Tillis. Would you answer any questions you may have, please?
Good morning. How are you?
How are you, sir?
Good. How long have you been incarcerated?
It's going on 27 years, sir.
7 years? I noticed. Go ahead.
I was going on 27 years, sir.
Okay. I noticed you've gone through a lot of programs.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What do you think about the programs you've gone through? They've helped, they've changed you, or you feel like you've been helped by all of these programs because you have quite a few?
Yes, sir. They have helped me tremendously a lot.
Where did you do time before you came there?
I was in Angola first, then I went to Rayburn Correctional Center, then I came here.
How long were you in Angola?
I think 9 years.
9 years?
So,
did you go through any training there?
yes, sir. I went through CPR class there, JC's class, living in balance, substance abuse classes, some Bible college classes, faith-based classes, NAA classes. I did several classes at Angola.
Were you familiar with Kairos Ministry?
Yes, sir. I went through Kairos in Rayburn.
Oh, you did?
Yes, sir. I did Kairos in Rayburn when I was at Rayburn.
What do you think about that program?
It was a beautiful program. It teaches you more about love and respect. It teaches you about the compassion of others, and that's one of the best programs I actually took because the gratitude and the remorse and stuff that they showed and how they were so compassionate for us, it really touched my heart.
I see. I guess in your statement, you're going to probably tell us about some things, but what you did was pretty bad, I thought. I'm not here to judge you. But do you seem, or do you think you've changed?
Yes, I've changed. Yes, I changed tremendously. And I knew that what happened that night was real remorseful. I deal with that deal.
I see. Thank you. No more questions.
So, Mr. Sweeny, tell me about the most impactful program you took.
Ma'am?
The most impactful program that you took.
All of them was impactful, ma'am. Because I learned a lot through each one, even the ones that, some of them was 6 weeks ago, some of them was ongoing. But each one of them helped build my character and helped me look deep inside myself.
Tell me about the 2017 contraband.
Yes, ma'am.
You were where? You were at Rayburn?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever take any victim awareness classes?
Yes, ma'am. I took one at Rayburn. I also took one in Angola. And in fact, I actually facilitated one in Rayburn. It was all victims affect our world.
And so in this, the murder that occurred, you knew the victims?
Yes, ma'am.
Were they friends of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll hear from them shortly. There's obvious opposition from victims' family members as well as law enforcement. And what strikes me is that, well, I have a couple of things. First of all, you have lost 417 days of good time. When's your last write-up?
Last write-up was Christmas of 2022.
And what was the offense?
That was a 3-way phone call.
And then the last loss of good time was in February of 22. That was a 21, right? So when do you think you actually turned the corner? I mean, you think you say you've changed and you're doing well in your beauty. When do you think that change started happening for you?
Well, change started happening once I started taking those programs seriously. And I had a real quest of helping a lot of people once, because I tried to give back because I felt remorseful, still feel remorseful for what I'd done. So a lot of programs, a lot of stuff I was doing to try to better myself, to give to others. And in the process of that, helping others, I lost myself helping others, and I seen that hold up, I was doing too much to try to help without actually looking more into myself. So we had to re-inventory myself.
When did you learn you were parole eligible?
That was when Act 122 came about.
Right. So when did you learn that you were parole eligible?
Well, I just got the people, I think that was about 3 months ago.
So between 2017 or 18, you didn't know that you were parole eligible?
Ma'am, I wasn't parole eligible at that time.
And when you went to court, you agreed to your 50-year sentence through a plea deal. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. That's all the questions I have. Mr. Pryor, you have any?
Not right now, I might.
Okay.
In a few minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Warden, is there anything you can add?
Yes, ma'am. From the Sweeny and I talked pretty much in depth on yesterday. Pretty impressed about how you applied itself with all the programs and so on and so forth, and trying to help the offender population and other institutions you've been to. The biggest thing I like to see happen with Sweeny is to recommend he actually get involved into the Boys and Men program. The Boys and Men program have several monthly topics. One of them in particular speaks on recidivism. And I think that's something be to his benefit if he have to get involved in that Boys and Men program.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. At this time, we'll hear from the people, Mr. Sweeny, who wants to speak in support. And first, we'd like to hear from your sister, the Reverend Sweeny.
I just wanted to say, I know change is always uncertain, but on his journey to change, he did the work. And part of that work to show that he has changed is to take those classes and courses, but not only change physically, but it should be mentally and spiritually as well. And though he had obstacles in the way, as you pointed out, that was a chance for him to examine himself and to realize that those things going to happen and certain things will cause you to fall into the traps and so I often reminded him you have to repent and ask for forgiveness, and even for forgiveness, ask the family for forgiveness, and I'm asking the board to consider him for parole. And he has done the work and still is doing the work to that change.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your remarks. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. And then we have Vladimir Celius.
I just like to talk about the relationship me and Mr. Wilbert Sweeny have. That I met Mr. Wilbert Sweeny back in like 2010 at Rayburn Correctional Center myself, because I was formerly incarcerated, and we met we was in the JC Club, and I was the president and he was the vice president of communication, and we just came together to see what we can do to better our community inside the prison. And what he stated when we started, we the ones started the program with all victims is our victim awareness program that we had started, and we was the co-founders of it. We went through it first, then we started facilitating the program. At that time, he became a tutor. I became a tutor in welding, and what we were doing as the student was graduating from getting a GED, we were bringing them on through welding. Wilbert Sweeny had been a big part of my life since I've been home through my transformation, because when I come home, I needed someone I could talk to keep my head level-headed. And he was one of them person that I can call, right? He'll call me, he'll write me on JP. And like right now, I'm a re-entry case manager for Total Community Action in New Orleans. So if he is granted parole, he have a chance here. I could be his case manager, help him find a job, housing, and things of that nature. Anything that he need for him to better himself once he do come home. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Ms. Baldwin.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak on Will's behalf. And I just have to say I'm 82, and this is reminds me of my mother had Alzheimer's, and the only time she forgave me for a lot of my sins was when she couldn't remember anymore. But the thing that I have learned from Will is that he has been in a constant state of repentance. And I know how hard it is to forgive when something has happened so tragically as has happened to the family of the person that was killed. But I know that forgiveness is as much for the person who was wronged as it is for the person who did the perpetrating of the wrong. And I want to say that I met Will in 2014, maybe, and I've written to everyone, and you have that story. And it meant so much to me in these last years that Will was part of my support system. I finally had a wonderful husband out of two that were alcoholics and ran away. And then he passed away after I had met Will. And his wisdom and his comfort meant so much to me, and to my family, and to the little church that I belonged to, because I shared a lot of the things that he wrote and shared with me with them. And I know, in my heart, I know, but I know too intellectually that Will has a place in the world on the outside to help people who are astray. He's a shepherd, and he has, not just that he will, but he has, in the past years that I've known him, reached out to others and tried to help them find their way, because that's what he had to do. And he rightfully says he was helped, and that's what he wants to do now. And he doesn't just say it, he does it. And I know that when I was Will's age now, the age that he is, I was still making mistakes, as he has. And the thing, I have 8 children and 14 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. And the thing I tell them all is, please don't be afraid of your mistakes, as long as you use them to keep growing and becoming a better person. And that's what Will has done, and I'm proud of him for that. So I count him as one of my sons. I've experienced everything with my 8 children. Some have been in jail and out of jail, and in drug treatment and out of drug treatment. I've known it all. I've known all the heartache that the parents of the person who lost their child.
Yeah, Ms. Baldwin, I'm sorry to interrupt, ma'am, but could you wrap it up for us, please?
Yes, and to wrap it up, I just say, I know it's a great responsibility that you have, and I feel that same responsibility, and so in supporting him, I'm aware of that responsibility. So thank you for letting me speak for him.
And thank you so much for being here today.
Okay.
So we'll hear from the victim's family. First, we'll start with Mr. Joseph Cacciopi. You want to speak? Mr. Joseph Jr., right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Joseph Cacciopi. I'm the only surviving witness in the victim of a crime spree that resulted in cruel, premeditated, cold-blooded execution-style murder of my fiancée, Alicia, by WILBERT Sweeny, and my about-to-be-born daughter, and cold-blooded attempt to murder me. I opposed granting parole to WILBERT Sweeny. At the time of her murder, Alicia was 7 months pregnant with our daughter. Together, we were raising Alicia's 3-year-old son and looking forward to the birth of our first child. We were a family until WILBERT Sweeny knocked on our door and destroyed it all. WILBERT Sweeny was supposed to be my friend. Instead, he plotted with his brother Johnny and Cornell Bush and did rob and kill Alicia in cold blood and attempted to kill me in cold blood as well. What's so cold-blooded, callous, and cruel is the manner in which they planned and carried out these crimes. It was calculated and premeditated. It took at least 30 minutes for them to drive from Kenner to my home in Chalmette. Sweeny had at least 30 minutes to think about what he was going to do to Alicia and me before arriving at our home. He could have turned around, he could have changed his mind, but he didn't. Alicia and I welcomed Sweeny into our home for at least 45 minutes. Sweeny pretended to be our friend, laughing, joking, watching TV, playing video games with me. Wilbert looked at me and Alicia in the face. When Wilbert looked at Alicia, and saw an obviously 7-month pregnant woman, we meant nothing to him. During the entire time, Sweeny pretended to be our friend. He knew that as part of the plan, Bush had a sawed-off shotgun sitting just outside the door of our home. Wilbert and his brother Johnny had another gun that they hid until Wilbert pulled it out and pointed it at us at a prearranged time. When Bush retrieved the shotgun, he stood between us and the door to the outside while Wilbert and his brother searched our home for money and things to steal. Bush held me and Alicia at gunpoint, and Bush more than once threatened to kill us if we moved. When Sweeny returned from upstairs, he was carrying the pistol. To this day, I can still see the fear in Alicia's face. To this day, I can still hear Alicia begging over and over, please don't kill me. To this day, I can still hear Sweeny ordering us to put pillows over our faces. To this day, I can still see Wilbert shooting Alicia in the head and can still hear the blast as he pulled the trigger. I can still feel and hear being shot in the back and in my leg. I can still feel the glass of the window cutting through my leg as I jumped through the window to save my life. I remember Alicia's blood, her brains, my blood, and the pain. I should have bled to death and would have if it wasn't for a good Samaritan. I remember being told that one of the shots missed my heart and I was lucky to be alive. I shouldn't be alive, and if Wilbert Sweeny had his way, I'd be dead too. All three planned to rob and kill us. There was no way Wilbert or any of them were going to let us live. We knew them. I could identify them. I knew where Bush and Sweeny lived. I knew where Sweeny worked. I could describe the car they drove. If we lived, they were going to prison. To prevent that, they had to kill us. Sweeny should serve every day he was sentenced to. Every day I live with the scars of that day, emotional and physical. Have not married and have not fathered another child. Every day I think about what they took from me. The images of that day, Alicia laying in her own blood, the thoughts of our baby girl, our daughter, never getting a chance to live, and Alicia's 3-year-old son growing up without a mother. I get up in the morning thinking about it, and I go to bed thinking about it. To this day, I have never recovered from my physical injuries. I still have pain from where the bullet hit and damaged my sciatic nerve. I've had 2 surgeries and what will likely need more as scar tissue continues to accumulate and put pressure on my sciatic nerve. Every day I suffer with pain. Not sit more than a few hours. The foot and leg are always numb, causing the pain to increase. I will never be without pain. Wilbert Sweeny is not supposed to be eligible for parole. When Sweeny was sentenced to 50 years in jail, we were told that he would never be eligible for parole, that he would spend 47 years in jail, and that his jail time could only be reduced if he earned good time. And the judge made sure Sweeny knew this as well. Knowing that he would spend almost 50 years in jail helped, but even that small bit of comfort has been taken away when the Louisiana legislature recently gave parole eligibility to violent criminals, including Wilbert Sweeny. I feel that the state of Louisiana has betrayed me, that it cares more for life than it does for Alicia's life or my life, and the life of my daughter. The state of Louisiana has broken the promises it made to me, Alicia, our daughter, and our families. The state of Louisiana has put me on the burden of keeping him in jail as promised, no matter how traumatizing it is for me. It's on me to remind you of what happened. It's on me to relive and retell the awful events of that day. Wilbert Sweeny agreed to spend 50 years in prison without parole. Wilbert Sweeny has already been given more leniency than he deserves, and parole for him is not justice for me, Alicia, our baby girl, who never had a chance to live, or anybody else who's involved.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And Ms. Lombardino, it's my understanding that you'll be speaking on behalf of Mr. Joseph Senior. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And we do have the letter that was written, so if you could just summarize your remarks in the interest of time, please. I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
In the interest of time, if you would like to go to the other family, that would be fine with us.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, then we have, could we hear from Jeremiah, please?
Good morning, how you doing?
Morning, thanks for being here. What would you like to tell us?
My name is Jeremiah Avis. Alicia was my mother. I don't really have no memory of the shooting. I was present. What I can say is Wilbert has made my life extremely hard. I grew up with a lot of anger. He took something away from me I could never get. I don't even know how my mother looks. It's very painful. I have kids you can never meet. It's just hard.
So you can see.
It's just real hard. If y'all have anything in y'all heart, any mercy, any power y'all can do, I beg you never to let him out. I would like to see him die in prison because what he did, my mother didn't deserve. So he doesn't deserve no freedom at all. If y'all could do anything, that's all I ask.
Thank you, Mr. Avis. Thank you for speaking with us. And Ms. Bridget, is there something you'd like to say to us?
Yes, ma'am. I don't want him out of there. Please, whatever y'all could do, keep him there. Please, this child, Jeremiah went through so much as a baby. He don't know his mama. He didn't even get to meet his little sister. This child got a lot of anger management now on everybody because somebody else took his mama. He won't know why he took his mama. I told him I can't do nothing. I can't explain this, why. I just ask y'all, please help us. Just don't give him that freedom back. Please. Thank y'all.
Thank you, but thank you all. I know it took a lot of courage to speak with us this morning, and we do appreciate it. I'm going to ask Mr. Sweeny for his statement before we let the DA close it out for us. So, Mr. Sweeny, is there anything you'd like to say to the panel and address your remarks to us, please? Y'all are on mute. She's coming to fix it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead. Now, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Just to everybody, especially to victims, I understand. It was drugs that had done it. It never was the intent, but still the intent was bad because I remorse. I lived through that daily myself. I beat myself up daily with that situation. I'm very remorseful, and I understand each and every last one of y'all, and I understand how y'all feel. I just ask that please, there's some kind of way that y'all try to find forgiveness in your hearts. I understand the situation. I lost my brother, so I understand the ripple effect from that decision almost 27 years ago. My brother OD'd last year, right here at the island with me. So I understand y'all remorse. I feel it.
Remarks are to the committee. Your remarks should be addressed to us.
Okay, I'm remorseful. I apologize for my actions. It's nothing that I can say to change it. I live with that daily. My heart grieves. I understand the crimes, how the ripple effect is only just affect that person. It affected many others. I understand how widespread it did. And there I try to give back. I done took many courses to try to correct. You know, I know it's nothing I can do to see, to make it right or anything, but I just ask that, you know, God, just somebody just forgive me. I prayed on it, I pray to God, and I know that, you know, that He has the last say though, but I appreciate the time and opportunity to be able to have this time. Appreciate it.
Right, thank you, sir. Okay, we'd like to ask Mr. Nicosia for, to close it out for us. Is he there with us? Y'all are on mute.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I would like to just echo the thoughts of the victims, the courage it takes them to continually endure this pain, to have to attend this hearing. It was a gruesome event, a gruesome killing, and we stand by the victims in asserting that the agreed upon sentence was 50+ years, and we urge this board to deny parole and stand by the deal, stand by the sentence. And thank you so much for the victims, and we will always be here with you, and we will always attend these hearings to make sure justice is done and serve as handed down. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. You broke up a little bit at the end, but I think we definitely got your position. So thank you, sir, for joining us today. I think we are prepared to vote. Mr. Brooks will be voting first.
Denied.
Mr. Crater.
Denied.
All right, Mr. Sweeny, you know, my vote is also to deny based on the opposition that's been expressed here this morning. I do appreciate your work, your community service that you've trying to help others, but you got to work on yourself first. And you just seem like you just started that. So my vote today is to deny the parole. We wish you well. Good luck to you, sir. And Mr. Nicosia, thank you for your support at the Orleans event that we sponsored last year for victims. Thank you for being there. We appreciate it. That concludes our business. Warden Thompson, at your facility today. We're going to sign off. It's 11:34. Thanks for helping us out.